In this experiment, we'll be performing different types of reactions and recording various observations for each type. Observations include visual changes, smells, temperature differences, sounds, etc. This video will serve as a demonstration to what is performed in the laboratory for this experiment. Let's get started. For this reaction, we'll need two acids at 0.1 molar. Here we have hydrochloric acid and sulfuric acid. Then we have our indicator, which is our phenolphthalein in ethanol. And then our base, we have a 0.1 molar sodium hydroxide solution. For this neutralization reaction, we only need two test tubes, labeled 1 and 2, for our two different reactions that we'll do. In reaction 1, we'll be doing a neutralization between sulfuric acid and sodium hydroxide. So to start that, we'll add about 10 drops of our sulfuric acid to test tube 1. And then first we'll add some of our phenolphthalein indicator. 1 or 2 drops should do just fine. And then we can give this a little quick stir. We can observe some differences there from our initial drops of the sulfuric acid. Alright, now we're going to add our base, which is our sodium hydroxide. But we'll be doing this drop-wise. That way we can count how many drops it takes for there to be any observed change in color. And so what I'll do is I'll add a drop. And then we can see that it changed a little bit. I'll give it a stir here on the vortex. And it doesn't look like there was any permanent change, so we'll add again. So that's 2 drops. You can see that it's changing a little bit, but no permanent change. That's 3. Nothing there. Oh, I did 5. That was 2 drops, so that's 5 now. No permanent change. We can do it by 2s. So it's 7. And we just keep doing this until we get this solution here at the bottom completely pink. So now we've added it, and it doesn't look like it changed back to its kind of cloudy, clearish, or it might. Oh, it's going back. If we shake it some more. So we're at 27, so maybe one more drop. And that looks to have done it right there. So it's about 28 drops of our sodium hydroxide that it took to get that color change. Alright, so that's reaction 1. So now we're going to do the same thing, except for instead of using sulfuric acid, we'll use our hydrochloric acid. And this will go into test tube 2. Again, about 10 drops into that test tube. Don't forget we have to add our indicating color there. About a drop or 2. And same thing, we see that there's a little bit color change, but that just shows that our indicator's in there. And now we can start adding our sodium hydroxide, and same thing, drop by drop, counting each time. That was 2. Five, 6, 7. That was 27 drops, so about the same as our first one there. So we can make some observations about, how many drops it took, the differences in the color, if any, look about the same. So those are our two neutralization reactions. For our precipitation reactions, we need 0.1 molar solutions of barium chloride, sodium carbonate, nickel nitrate, copper sulfate, and potassium hydroxide. To begin our reactions, we need 9 test tubes that will be arranged in this way with 4 columns and 3 rows so that we can track all of our various reactions. In this first column, I'll add 20 drops of our barium chloride to each test tube down the line. Alright, now in our second column, we're going to add 20 drops of our potassium hydroxide. Same thing. Alright, now in column 3, I'll add 20 drops of our nickel nitrate to these two. And finally, in our very last column, I'm going to add 20 drops of our sodium carbonate to this last test tube. Alright, so now that all of our columns are filled, we can make some initial observations here. Just get some color observations, see what it looks like right now before we've even started anything. Alright, so we'll start our mixing by taking our copper sulfate solution and adding 20 drops of it to each test tube in row 1. Alright, so we should be able to make some pretty easy observations right away, and we'll have to make observations after adding our solutions to each row. Okay, so for our second row, we're going to add now 20 drops of our sodium carbonate right in our second row. Alright, we can make some observations there already, to our initial observations. And then finally, in our last row, we'll add 20 drops of our nickel nitrate to both of these test tubes. Alright, now that our test tubes are mixed and we made some initial observations, what we can do is we can wait a few minutes, give this a little shake, to see if any more changes occur. So we'll come back in about 5 minutes and we'll check again. So it's been about 5 minutes and we can see that there has been a little bit more change that has happened, and it probably will continue to change if we leave it for long enough. But what I'll do is I'll move these two out down here to kind of separate them a little bit. That way you can see exactly what's going on. So in some of them there's some definite precipitant forming and color change. In the second row, same thing, you can tell where solutions have become cloudy or not. And then there's that last row. And I'll kind of pan this around. So this one right here, right, that's that first row. This one right here, that's row number 2. And then this front one, that's row number 3. For this last pair of reactions, we only need 2 test tubes, A and B. In A, we're going to do our first gas-forming reaction by adding a little scoopful of sodium carbonate, powdered sodium carbonate here. We'll add this to test tube A carefully. Let that sit there at the bottom. And then we'll add about 10 drops of our sulfuric acid. And then we can observe what happens next. We can hear what's happening, see what's happening, feel the temperature change, see what's happening there. This is getting pretty warm. You can see that it's really bubbling up there. All right, we'll let that one finish up. So this is just about done. It's getting this last little fizzles out. Okay. So now we can move on to our second reaction. And to test tube B, I'll add about 20 drops of our hydrochloric acid in here. Okay, so we got those 20 drops of our HCl in there. Now we'll add about 1 or 2 pieces of our magnesium solid here. We'll drop these in and then we can see what happens next. And same thing, we can see the gas forming, we can hear the bubbles fizzling if we pick this up and feel the bottom of the test tube. You can observe that temperature change there. It's getting pretty warm there. We'll let this go for a few more seconds until it finishes up. So that's about done fizzling, but still feeling just the bottom of it. It feels really hot. So that does it for all of our reactions. So now we can dispose of all of our test tubes into their appropriate waste container, and then we should be good to clean up.